Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime. We're live on Friday, March 27, 2020. SmackDown is live tonight. We have a big preview for you. Also, there are big names that are no longer appearing at Wrestlemania next weekend. We will talk about that in depth without spoiling anything. And how exactly is it that WWE has found a way to have fans at WrestleMania? And what is the future of WWE and professional wrestling after WrestleMania? We are joined live by our associates all over the world. We will hear from them. You will hear from him, and you will hear from me. Coming up right here, right now, on the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Live. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime Live for Friday, March 27, 2020. It's the last Friday of the last 2020 ever. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Octavius Tiberius, the alleged backyard, one-time knockout, straight-edge, hardcore, runs faster than many other men. Hall of Famer.
I am
hero.
a Hall of Famer. Yes, it's a
How
Friday.
the heck are you?
I'm great. It's Friday. We made it through the week. Another week of quarantine.
We made it through another week of quarantine. It has been a long week. And hopefully your week has been shorter because of us coming to you 5 nights a week. This is our first span of 5 nights live, David. Here we're live on Monday. We were live on Tuesday. We were live on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We were live on Thursday. And we're live now on Fight TV.
Five. That's like tribute to King Kong Bundy and the Five, isn't it?
It is.
Or that's one of your favorite songs. I got 5 on it.
Have you seen the movie, was it Us? Us, I think?
I've seen Up.
It's a Tyler Perry joint, I think, maybe, or a Key Pell.
No.
It's a fantastic
I
movie.
saw
And
Booty
one of the central storylines is around that song.
5 on it?
I got 5 on it. You know what that's about?
No, tell me.
We want to thank you for joining us wherever you're watching us all over the world. We're live currently on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And so much
There's a lot to go this hour
in the wrestling world, and thank you for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a quick favor before we get into the nuts and bolts of this. Subscribe to us and also like us. Turn on your notifications on Twitter so that you never miss an episode of the Pro Wrestling Report. These subscriptions, you get notified every time we're live, again, Monday through Friday. Huge plans for WrestleMania weekend coverage as well. We'll be sharing that with you over the course of the next few episodes. But subscribe and turn those notifications on YouTube. Are you on YouTube, David?
I'm everywhere. I'm on the YouTube. I'm on the U2. I'm on the that thing. It's everywhere. It's amazing.
And it's time for tonight's top story. And, we've been talking so much about Wrestlemania. And every time we talk about it, as soon as we're done talking about it, the story has changed.
It's like politics.
Yeah, but that's not fun to follow.
No, not at all. But this
hasn't
been a lot of fun either.
Hasn't been fun at all. Look, we've told you folks for the last several weeks that we are going to be a spoiler-free zone. And we will continue to be a spoiler-free zone. But there are some newsworthy stories coming out of Orlando and the WrestleMania tapings that must be shared because they lead to a broader dialogue that needs to be had about WWE and its current situation. So keep that in mind. We're never going to give you a match result. We're not going to tell you about the result of plans that were changed because of the things that had to change that we're going to tell you about tonight. But we are going to engage in some active dialogue, and we're not going to do it alone because we are joined all over the United States by our correspondents, including Josh Chernoff, Andrew Bay Dala, I was taught how to say it earlier, and Linda K.
Whoops.
That just
High
keeps
spot.
on happening. Linda K, actually.
But you know what, though? In 2020, that's okay.
What do you mean? There she is.
There it goes.
Linda, welcome to the show. Welcome all of you to the show. And let's get down into it, David Hero. WrestleMania. Big main event match two of them were to happen. Obviously, Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar, and the other,
Yes,
Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. Goldberg, the WWE champion. Well, Roman Reigns is not participating in that matchup at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns determining that he did not want to risk his health to travel to Orlando, or be a part rather of the event. This reported first by Pro Wrestling Sheet, and then backed up and verified by ESPN as well. So Roman Reigns out of WrestleMania. Obviously the match still on, and they're going to go in whatever direction they're going to go in it, but this is huge. Roman Reigns, for many reasons, not a part of this year's WrestleMania, David Hero.
and you can't blame the guy. He went and defeated leukemia twice.
Yeah.
Why would he risk getting sick? There's so many uncertainties right now with what's going on in the world, and I don't blame him. I mean, of course, there's rumor and innuendo that another champion, top star, refused to go down to Orlando. We talking about that, or is that one of your spoilers?
We could talk about who wasn't there.
Okay, well, The Miz wasn't there, and Roman Reigns is like, yeah, I'm not going to be there either. So it's probably good business for Roman Reigns to not go, just because of his health. I mean, he didn't fight to come back twice to have something.
I missed the second time. When did he come back twice?
Well, no, he was diagnosed when he was like 20 or 21.
And he never left
And
because
then
he wasn't
beat,
there.
And then he beat it. I'm
Yes.
saying he came back twice from leukemia.
Fair enough. And that's an obvious consideration for Roman, because he does have a compromised immune system,
Yes.
and he is more susceptible to feeling the severe effects of this illness if exposed to it. And it is not a matter of if, but probably a matter of when, as to somebody in this environment that is WWE, with the shows they've been taping, is probably carrying the virus. And you gotta admire Roman for making that decision. I don't think there can be any heat on him whatsoever.
No, there shouldn't be. I mean, it's not an easy decision for anybody. Now, some people are going to say, why didn't he tell them a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago? Everything kept changing.
Yeah.
It's like you figure, okay, maybe it's not going to be that bad. But then when you see the hundreds and now we're into the thousands of everything else happening with who's been affected and who, all that, it's like, no, just stay home. There's plenty of more WrestleManias for Roman Reigns to headline.
Indeed, and let's find out what the associates think, and let's start with the one named Chernoff, Joshua. Roman Reigns out of WrestleMania. What have you say? Is that?
I agree with
what did you
everything.
say?
I'm sorry, what was that? I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I mean, you can't. Yeah, it's WrestleMania. First of all, it's the most watered down version of a WrestleMania ever. But it's wrestling. It's nobody's job should be worth risking this unless you're somebody, like the people who are in the hospitals and the heroes of this who are there right in the face of this, taking care of people with this virus. There is no reason for Roman Reigns to risk his health. I did hear a rumor that he was actually there and just didn't want to wrestle, so they may have worked it into something like an injury angle or something like that, which again I look at and say, why have an injury angle? Like, we all know what's going on here. I also heard that The Miz was sick. That was kind of a rumor that was put out there, and that the Usos had an issue with it. Like, none of it really made any sense what was going on. But I think Roman Reigns made the right decision. I think anybody who chose to sit this one out made the right decision. One of the things that you see on the news is that there are people who are young and healthy but don't realize that they have an underlying condition, and that's something that we've seen in many sports before. To me, I still am shocked that the WWE is even doing this. There's so much risk that somebody could become seriously ill or even die from this. Yeah. Whether it's talent, whether it's crew, whether it's somebody that the talent knows, family member, whatever. I don't know. It just doesn't feel worth it to me.
Thank you, Josh. Folks, we are live all over the world, as I said, across social media and, of course, on Fight TV. Here, the Pro Wrestling Report PrimeTime, brought to you by Collar and Elbow brand. We are taking your comments. You saw a few of them pop up on the screen, so keep those comments coming on our socials, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Linda, Roman Reigns out of WrestleMania. What's your take on this news?
Well, just like everybody else, great decision on his part, not putting his own health on the line, or possibly, as you mentioned, Josh, taking it home. Obviously to his family. I mean, like Dave said, a lot of people might be like, why now? Why have the contract signing with Goldberg and then pull out of Mania? But it is just that ever-changing climate. You really just don't know what to expect. What will happen not just tomorrow, but today. I definitely feel he did make the right decision, and I'm really curious to see if there's going to be anybody else who decides to pull out as well, depending on their health. And, they're wanting to stick in. This is WrestleMania, what you worked on your whole life for, but obviously your health comes first, and who expected the coronavirus and everything that's going on right now?
Yep. Well, Drew, up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Andrew, Roman Reigns, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was at work Monday, and everything changed by Wednesday. So I think for us to speculate on whether or not Roman hates the storyline or whatever else is just garbage. Roman Reigns, like Dave Hero said, beat cancer twice. I think we need to just take a breath here and realize there's a human being behind this star that he portrays on television. And I think, this ever-changing landscape is something we all need to be very conscious of and cautious of. It's not like Roman's in a opening match. Roman's in a high-profile match against Bill Goldberg for a major championship. So I think obviously he was more concerned about his health than he was cashing a check, and kudos to him. And I think more should take his lead if this is how people truly feel.
Folks, share with us what you think. Hashtag PWR Live across our social media channels. We'll get to some of your comments later on when we enter the lounge. But David, can you blame any of these people?
Not at all.
Can you blame them? Because we've talked for many weeks on this program, well, 2 since we've been back, but we've talked about whether or not they should have just postponed the whole damn thing. And there are differing opinions on that, but things have gotten worse and not better. And granted, they accelerated the schedule to get WrestleMania in the can, if you will, so that they could air it next weekend. But I'm beginning to believe more and more and more and more that moving forward may not have been the best decision for the company.
Well, and Damian, you and I have talked about this off the air. There's no playbook right now for anybody to figure out how to handle the coronavirus. And, maybe they thought they could get it in and get it recorded, because what content does WWE have? If they postpone WrestleMania, what do you do with the storylines you have in place? Because if you're going to postpone it, it's got to be for at least 2 months. At least 2 months to get all cleaned up. And what do? You just keep Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg and all the champions idle? And then you got to hope that no one gets hurt from now until then also. So they just it's a coin flip. You're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. For me, I had no problem with them recording WrestleMania, but who would have ever figured that one of your main events now won't happen because of it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's all the more reason that it shouldn't have happened. I mean, just to be honest with you, as you said, there's no playbook. I'm not saying anyone did anything wrong, made any bad decisions, made any wrong decisions, but hindsight's always going to be 2020. And it depends on which dialogue or narrative you are subscribing to as to how bad the situation was. But I was talking to another business owner here in the area earlier today, and we both discussed how this is unprecedented in our country's history. 9/11 wasn't like this. I can't imagine World War II was like this. The turmoil of the 60s wasn't like this. This is new territory, and there is no playbook. There is no right way. There is no wrong way. But you can take the option of weathering the storm and seeing what happens, but you don't know when the storm's over. So as you said, what do you do with the storylines if you were to pause them or put them on break? What do you do? What option do you have? And one option I talked about recently on this program was SummerSlam. The biggest party of the summer becomes the biggest party of the year, in my opinion. And, well, maybe that's their next step.
They're going to have to make good at SummerSlam, but who knows if SummerSlam is going to be ready for something like that. I mean, if you think about it, the big picture, let's say everything goes back to normal.
Picture it, Boston?
Yeah, picture it, Boston, sure.
2020.
Are you still going to be comfortable going into a building with 30,000 people?
People are now. That's what I said. Depends on which narrative you listen to. There are a lot of people who believed when this was
Would
happening
you
elsewhere
walk
that it
in-
wouldn't be an
Would
issue
you walk
here.
into a building today with 30,000 people?
Would I?
Yes.
I said a lot of people would. I'm not a lot of people. I'm very
Okay.
unique.
You absolutely
different.
You are. You know, but I mean that's what you have to look at, because this isn't going to completely go away. But we can't live scared, so we have to start making decisions. You got to plan. How much time do we need?
But you can't plan because the
You
end's
can't.
unknown. It's an uncertain future. They're in a conundrum. They're in a quagmire, I think is the word
Isn't that some cartoon character?
he was.
yeah?
Yes,
Giggity.
yes. But questions: how can you blame Roman Reigns, The Miz, or anyone else? Should WWE have postponed? Couldn't they have just made SummerSlam bigger and just defer until then? Because the other unknown situation is what's going to happen to their television between WrestleMania and the end of this epidemic.
Yeah.
We don't know the answer to that.
You know what it is? There's billions of dollars at stake.
Mhm.
Is what it is. The same thing with the NFL and NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey. Now the Olympics are getting pushed back.
The whole year.
For a whole year. So there's billions of dollars. And again, I don't blame anybody for them saying, "Hey, I'm staying home." It doesn't mean you're a coward. It doesn't mean you're afraid. It's like, hey, you don't gamble with your health. Make that a priority.
Absolutely, and let's go to the associates and find out your thoughts. And the question that's out there is, well, let's pose a new question. You'd mentioned the NFL, Dave. What would the NFL have done, and we could speak hypothetically because they didn't have to make this decision, if this were the Super Bowl? Because this is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. It's almost an exact replica of the situation. Would they have postponed?
No, they wouldn't have, and here's why. They can still put it on TV, right? We're going to get like 3, 4,
Same
5
situation.
billion No, it's completely different.
How's it different?
Look at the revenue they get from advertisers.
WWE has revenue from television contracts. They've made commitments to sponsors for WrestleMania.
Not for a pay. I highly doubt that what they get paid for WrestleMania is on par to what the NFL gets for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but situationally,
Not even
you
close.
can't disagree that it's a season that culminated in this big event. This big event is upon us. When forced with the decision of whether to go forward or cancel, circumstantially, it's all the same. Let's go around the horn. What do you guys think? Drew, first. Super Bowl. Would the NFL had canceled if put in the similar situation?
1,000,000% no. The NFL has too many advertisers, too many people who buy commercials. They would have thrown it on television in an empty stadium, and they would have went forth with the game. There's too much to lose. They would have never done it. They would have just had the game.
Difference between that and the NCAA.
That was a major shocker, but you got to remember that those are college students, so I think they had the care for everybody involved, parents, students, other college, people going back when they get back from this tournament. That was a totally different situation. And that's a big money maker, so you're 100% right. I lost a ton of money on that, but I would say that the NFL would 100% go as planned with the Super Bowl.
Linda, if WrestleMania were the Super Bowl, as it is called the Super Bowl of professional wrestling, would the NFL had continued with the big game?
I don't think it would have been canceled, but there's a possibility of it being postponed only because there isn't a storyline to kind of continue on from February till, say, August, maybe before preseason starts. But, I mean, again, you don't want to put people at risk, but lots of money is involved, as we've discussed. But I think it could have been a possibility just because they could take a pause on that, wait to see how the climate changes. Are people getting better? Is it worth it to put 50, 80,000 plus people into a stadium? But I think it could have been postponed only because there wasn't a continual storyline or a weekly episode to kind of continue the season along until the Super Bowl would be postponed.
Joshua.
I think that there's a 0% chance that they would have had people in the stadium. I think, and I also think it depends on when it would have fallen. If the Super Bowl had been 3 weeks ago versus had the Super Bowl been next week, I think that really depends, because right off the bat, you're looking at the city that it would be in. Would they shut it down and say, no, you can't do this? There are a lot of moving parts with that. I do agree that more than likely they would have attempted to do it in an empty stadium, and they would have done that with everybody would have been on the field, and Look, I mean, most of them are all wearing gloves anyway, right? So yeah, there's a lot of contact, but technically they're covered more than a wrestler is. So maybe that's something they would have been able to get away with. I'm sure you would have found a lot of people having to sit out because their fever was higher or whatever, and it probably would have been a disaster. And I think they're probably looking at this right now, looking at Major League Baseball and NHL and everybody, and they're NFL's probably looking at this going, oh, thank God our season was done.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different because pro wrestling it's far more entertainment in the sense of how we're absorbing it. Not that sports isn't, of course, that's entertainment, but you know what I mean? It's more of a show, and I think the storylines are even more of a reason why you could cancel it, because
And Damien,
it's a story.
To your NCAA point, they canceled school classes before they canceled the tournament, so they had no choice but to cancel the tournament, because if they didn't,
that's not entirely true. Not every school was closed at that point.
Right, but the NCAA doesn't market their athletes as professional athletes. They don't want to be paid, so they really had no choice. No choice.
Thank you for that analysis. Here's a great question coming to us from YouTube. Watching live right now, John Orchard from, I believe, across the pond, former PWR Fan of the Year. If Vince canceled the rest of the XFL season, why not WWE? I think it's a valid question.
There's more players involved with the XFL. If you have 50 guys on each team, that's 100 right there, plus crews and whatnot.
Well, they got a lot of gear on.
They
just walk through, instead of Gatorade, just walk through Purell?
Here's the thing. Sometimes you got to lose today to win tomorrow. Maybe they figured if they cancel the XFL, that takes a little bit of heat off. They followed everybody else as a professional sport.
So here's one thing. Great question, John. Thank you. And great comments coming across our socials right now. But here's one other consideration, and there hasn't been much talk about this, but the Hollywood, and actually we're going to talk to Luke Hawks. Why do I want to keep calling him Luke Knox?
He is going to punch you in the face when
we're going to talk to Luke Hawks later, who not only is involved in the wrestling scene down in the Southeast, but also as a stuntman has worked on many Hollywood productions. Hollywood has shut down television shows, movies, all the stuff we're supposed to be seeing in the fall and later in the year. That's not happening right now for all the same reasons. So if you look
I'm not going
at
to see the Flash in all my
he's right there.
shows. No, that's Daredevil.
Oh, there's another red gimmick guy?
He's the blind superhero.
He looks just like the Flash.
Well, he's red.
This is the Flash.
Bro, it's 2 D's on his chest.
Why does he have nunchucks?
Because he's a blind ninja.
What does him being blind have to do with anything?
Well, that's why you can't see his eyes.
So, if you look at WWE as a television program, you could say, well, Hollywood shut down, WWE should be shut down. I think hindsight's going to view this as more irresponsible than it's being viewed today. I don't have that view because, as you said, David, which is very valid, and as we were talking earlier, there is no playbook.
Well, hold on a second. At the same time, we are the 2 guys that walked into the Georgia Dome for Survivor Series.
Phillips Arena.
When they had military personnel with machine guns outside the
building. I ain't never scared.
So it's like, you know what I mean? How could you forget that weekend?
I would say that the NFL would have been pressured to not go forward with the Super Bowl, but they would have had equal pressure from the money to go forward with the Super Bowl, and they would have been in a similar situation that WWE is in right now, but they would have gotten much more heat for continuing forward if they elected to do so than WWE is getting and is going to get for this situation.
The only reason why WWE is not getting as much heat is because they're still not portrayed on the same level as the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball. It's still that pro wrestling.
Do you think there's like an expectation already? The bar is so low in people's minds of what pro wrestling is that it's like, oh yeah, those wrestling guys are just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the radar is much more substantial right now because WrestleMania is a global event. It is a huge business driver for not just the city that hosts it, but for the world. And it is a high-profile event. And if you look at other high-profile events right now, you mentioned the Olympics, David, they're just not happening. They're just not happening. And, there are people saying that there have been few people in the higher levels of WWE who were so committed that this event go forward. And again, you can't fault them. There was no right decision. There is no right decision because there has not been a time in our world or lives where we've been in this situation. So, keep those comments coming. Thank you for those comments here in the first segment. We are going to table that conversation. We need to talk still about SummerSlam, which we're going to do when we come back. We're going to talk about the future of TV as well with WWE. You know what? Screw it. We're live. Let's just do it. We'll do it. We'll do it live.
Whoa.
We'll do it live. I'll write it. We'll do it live right now.
Okay.
We'll do it live to play us in. So, let's go around the horn, around the world. Around the United States, anyways. SummerSlam. Can this WrestleMania debacle, not anyone's fault, but it's a debacle, can it be fixed in some way, shape, or form if things are back to normal come SummerSlam in Boston?
Absolutely.
How?
It's going to take a lot of conditioning of everybody to get motivated.
Everybody who? Us or them?
Everybody, from the fans to the talent to the production. There is a ton of unrest in WWE right now. Everything is upside down. I've talked to some of the talents that said they are completely in the dark about a lot of things.
I think the office is completely in the dark about a lot of other things too.
So, I mean, SummerSlam in Boston, it has potential to be amazing. But again, you got to. I've heard this quote before. You got to check the temperature of the room.
Oh, Frank.
Yes.
The cause.
So let's just make sure
PWR.
that's comfortable and that the pH balance is good. But it has
Secret?
a ton of potential. Secret?
Strong enough for a man? pH balance made for a woman?
I would not know, but sure. That's what you use.
So, associates, Drew. Actually, we'll start with you, Josh. SummerSlam. Can they fix this WrestleMania debacle with SummerSlam? And if so, how?
So, I'm not entirely sure that anything is going to fix the WrestleMania debacle or that it really can or needs to. I think it's more this WrestleMania it's a throwaway. It doesn't matter. We're all going to look back on this as just a super crazy time in this world, and every mistake, everything I think is going to be forgiven from speaking from a creative standpoint. Everything WWE is doing creatively will be forgiven because, like you've said numerous times here, this is unprecedented. We've never experienced something like this. There is no playbook for this. So I don't think it's going to be like, oh, they really did a bad job at WrestleMania. They better make up for it with SummerSlam. I do, however, think it's going to be a lot of people going, okay, now the WWE is back. They've had all this time where their shows, because, we know where this is headed. This is probably headed to at least a couple of weeks worth of just, recycled footage and stuff because they're not going to be able to film anything else. So it's a situation where I think this is going to be people looking at it saying, okay, now we're back. You've had time. And even if they haven't, I think fans are going to feel like WWE's had time to really do something monumental. And I think they have the opportunity to do it. I also think there's a good chance they're going to take that opportunity and squander it because they've been known to do that as well. But no, I think that SummerSlam could be huge. I don't think there's anything about WrestleMania now that is going to prevent SummerSlam from being able to be huge, barring, of course, not being able to do SummerSlam.
Right. Which is unfortunately still a possibility. Linda Kay, SummerSlam, how can they make it bigger than the biggest party of the summer in past years?
Well, SummerSlam is almost just as big as Mania to some extent in that we now have access at SummerSlam. There's talks about the Hall of Fame moving to SummerSlam weekend. We have SmackDown, TakeOver, SummerSlam, and then Raw. I feel that they can just, at this point, actually have Triple H or maybe even Vince come out and be truthful and speak and say, you know what, given this climate, our health situation, it's okay to take a pause at what's going on in the current storylines just to make sure this world heals, our wrestlers are safe and healthy, and then the time from now until hopefully SummerSlam that things get better. If they need to continue it and just show reruns, or what they've been doing, just showing more huge former pay-per-view matches.
Yeah.
There's enough content to kind of keep things running, keeping interest going. Maybe that partnership with ESPN can keep, more interest going with fans outside of our current IWC. But I feel that they could just hopefully pick up back where they left off at SummerSlam, because that outlet is there. You'll have the fans there, and this could be perhaps the biggest SummerSlam ever.
Drew, SummerSlam, how'd you do it?
I would honestly, and this is me, not anybody else, I'd move it. I would move it to a football stadium, and I would have 50, 60,000 people there. I think that people are going to want to get out of their houses. I think
You want to
wrestling
go back
fans,
to 1992?
I do. Who doesn't want to experience that? I mean, that was something I watched as a kid, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, SummerSlam.
It's a
And
great
then,
show.
you know, and then WrestleMania took its place, and they kept doing it in bigger and badder venues. But I just think that the WWE and Vince McMahon wants to do bigger and badder when we can actually get everybody to a public assembly, just like they did on 9/11. They were the first ones out there. I think they want to jump out the gate, and I think Gillette Stadium's a perfect place for it.
And Gronk. Let's not forget Gronk.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're trying to. Well, I really think that WWE has an opportunity with SummerSlam, but here's the challenge, and I think all your points are incredibly valid. The challenge is they can't even plan that now.
No one can plan anything. You can barely plan Christmas right now.
Well, that's after SummerSlam.
Exactly. That's what I'm
Do
saying.
you plan Christmas this early?
It depends.
What does it depend on?
Depends on the weather. Whether or not I have time.
Oh, my Lord. So the next question, folks, and we want to hear all of you watching us live on Fight in the chat room there and on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Television. You know, they've gotten through, and we know that Raw and SmackDown and NXT are taped. We learned this past Wednesday what the NXT plan was with takeover matches happening over the next few weeks, but what happens after? We hear that they won't be able to be back into the Performance Center to tape shows until around April 9th, but that may change.
Yeah, of course, it could very well change. Everything's been changing.
And they've got obligations to Fox, to USA, to international partners. What do they do? Even after WrestleMania, even before SummerSlam, the in-between time, in the meantime, in the in-between time, what do they do? What if they can't even do new television shows, David?
I don't think they'll be able to. They're going to have to depend on the world's biggest wrestling library, the network. And it's like you may have to break out some of the breaking ground where they're featuring the NXT stars that are now stars today on Raw and SmackDown. They have so much content that they can use because they can't keep doing TVs in empty arenas because it kills the entire mood. And we talked about this earlier. The one thing that we've always said this, how people matter. It has never rung more true than it does right now. Because
that's sweet of you.
Thank
you for saying
I'm not
that
talking
about me.
about you.
I don't matter.
Sometimes, as long as of course you do. But
Cal,
you have the world's greatest entertainers, the world's greatest in the wrestling ring, and they are phenomenal. You have phenoms. You have everything under the sun. But if there's nobody there to boo and cheer, it takes away the biggest dynamic of the entire show. They need people in these events.
All right, fans, we're going to go around the horn again, and we'll go to our associates all over the world. We've got a question from a viewer on YouTube. Chris S82 has an interesting proposition for us to ponder here, and that is, do you think that WWE would consider erasing all the storylines, pausing, then starting over with no champions and a whole new draft, almost like a full company reset, if you will, after all this is done? And we'll throw to Drew first on that.
I think that's a bit of a stretch. I know it would take up some quality TV time, and trust me, they're going to need it soon because I'm with the both of you. I don't think that they can produce new content sooner. I think that they're probably going to have a halt. What they can do, though, is build new superstars, and they could do that by airing some footage that they already have and by having them do maybe vignettes or one-on-one interviews in Stamford. But I can't see them hitting the reset button right now. But a draft, maybe late May, early June, possible.
Linda, do they just hard stop and restart when this is all done?
No, but I feel another draft, that could happen just to gauge more interest. And like you said, Drew, just having more content, more interviews, I was going to suggest that to kind of fill time until things get back to normal. I don't think they necessarily need a hard reset, maybe a pause and resume back. Again, I'm hoping on SummerSlam, guys. I want another huge event to take place this year, so hoping everything can kind of get back into place and get into gear for the biggest party of the summer.
Stop, start. Josh Chernoff, what are your thoughts?
I think it's been done before, and it did not go well with WCW. If you remember when they
wait a minute.
From everybody. You know
They
what
just
I'm
messed
talking
up.
about, right?
They didn't have a virus to mess them up.
Right,
Nobody
no.
was a
I'm
virus.
talking about literally this.
They did. His name was Vince Russo.
Oh, ooh, okay. Now we're... So, the WCW did that before, where they took the titles from everybody and they started from scratch, and that was Russo and Bischoff. I think it was like during that whole New Blood time and everything, and it didn't work. It was an interesting concept that could have worked. So I would say there's a possibility that maybe we kind of do that restart, but not with the champions, because that kind of belittles everything. I mean, you can't really take someone's championship away because there was a virus going around, you know. But I think to kind of say, hey, we're pausing everything, we're going to restart. We've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. Like, I just think there needs to be some common sense booking, some reality based booking where you can. I know they don't want to acknowledge it because they want to have it as like an escape for everybody, and I get that, I do. But I think you need to acknowledge, hey, this is something that happened in the world, and we're now, we're back, and maybe it doesn't have to feel like a hard reset, but it's something where creative can just take this time. And, I think everyone could use a break and step outside of that bubble for a minute, get new ideas, and come back and create something better. Somebody also had said on YouTube, I saw one of the things going on there that they were saying, hey, what if they started airing, from the very beginning, I think from like when Hogan won the title. Could be an interesting thing to just say, hey, we're going to air, the first 3 episodes of Raw in place, to cover 3 hours, because used to just be 1 hour. We'll do the same with SmackDown. My only concern with something like that is that people are going to come back and go, man, today's product is not as good as it was back in the day.
Yeah, you run
whether
that
that's
risk
true
for
or
sure.
not, I think people would do it.
Yeah. And here's the thing, as we've talked about, they haven't had that time for the thing.
No.
They haven't had the time. There has not been an office meeting to sit back and say, we can just relax. What do we do now? It's been balls to the wall. Got to figure it out. Got to get this done. Got to meet obligations, because they do have financial obligations they got to meet too that are feeding into this decision. And let's not forget, one huge business element is this is Q4, the fourth quarter of WWE's financial year. WrestleMania is usually the benchmark that determines how good or bad the year is. And we'll have more WWE financial news specific to its chairman, Vince McMahon, later on in this broadcast. But final thought on this entire discussion, David Hero? Seems like you're itching to talk.
There's no way you do a hard reset. That admits failure. And what are you going to do? Tell Bill Goldberg, and tell Brock Lesnar, and tell Undertaker, going to tell John Cena, hey guys, thanks, we're going to do a reset, and we're going to draft, and no, that's not going to happen. You just got to take it on the chin like they're doing, work
Sweet
through
chin
it.
music?
Yeah, you
Does
have
it
a
kick
draft. You can do it later in the year. You can't do it now. It admits defeat.
Speaking of drafts, we used to do a draft.
We did.
How many years did you win? There was that one. I know Meathead won 1 year. You won
Carry the 4.
no years. I am the national PWR draft champion. Maybe we should just do a draft.
screwed.
We can find out what Josh, Linda, and Chernoff have to say. We can include them in the draft.
Whoa, you want these jokers in the draft?
I think they might bring jokes, but I don't know if they're actual jokers. But yeah, why not?
Wow.
Maybe we should. Let's throw it to the fans.
You
Should
afraid of
we?
competition, Dave?
Should we? He always wants to compete. Should the draft come back? Because it was always after WrestleMania.
Yeah, and we just aired 2011.
You did.
Well, yeah, because it's the one where you got all pissy and
I didn't
everything.
get pissy. You that was our initial draft, and you cheated. You stole the Miz.
I didn't cheat.
You stole the Miz, but guess what? I still won that year.
You did, because of Heath Slater.
Folks,
He got one
as you know, we
appearance
have been
point.
on the air for 20 years plus. All of these broadcast programs we're talking about are available on our YouTube channel. You can go there now if you're not there already and check out some of the archives. We have gone 20 minutes long in that segment, ladies and gentlemen, but thank you very much for the insight.
I blame Linda.
From Linda, Drew, and Josh as well. And unfortunately, we've got a guest that's been waiting in the green room for a very long period of time. We are going to take a timeout, David Hero.
Yes.
And do you have any shenanigans? Because last week you messed up Al and the Blue Meanie. My audio sounded bad for the first time ever on this show. You know what, Miss Betty,
do we have anything
she should be
planned for
quarantined. This? Folks, we're going to take a time out. When we come back,
don't
it's
do that.
more
No, seriously.
Pro Wrestling
don't.
Report Primetime. Our guest, Luke Hawx, and his son, PJ Hawx, who you've seen before.
The wait is over. All Elite Wrestling is now available on AEW Plus. This is your chance to watch AEW Dynamite, commercial-free and live every Wednesday night. Exclusively on the Fight Digital Sports Television platform. AEW Plus is available in over 100 countries outside the U.S., Canada, Germany, and France. AEW Plus can be viewed on your smart TV, mobile device, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, or at Fight.tv. You ain't seen nothing yet. Starting this month, AEW Plus will also feature every episode of AEW Dark. Download the Fight app now and join the revolution today.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. We're live here on Friday. It is March 27th.
It is. It's the Ides of March, isn't it?
What does that mean? Is that political?
It could be. Everything's political.
There's a movie.
It is.
No, that's The Flash.
The 27th.
Thank you so much for joining us all over the world, and thank you for sticking with us to that break. Of course, as we do each time we're live here on Fight TV, we bring you a very special guest, and we are honored to be bringing a very special guest on from down south in the bayou, New Orleans, Louisiana. Please welcome Luke Knox. Luke Hawx. I said
what?
Knox.
Wait, what? Knox?
See, Dave wrote it down.
What?
Dave wrote it down wrong. Dave wrote it down wrong here. Luke Hawx,
Look, you even,
along with PJ Hawx as well.
You even got my dog riled up.
Yeah. What is it with dogs on the show lately?
Welcome to Prime Time. Thank you for joining us. Of course, everyone dealing with the current situation with COVID-19. You obviously running wrestling organizations, wrestling down in the Southeast, specifically Wildcat Wrestling. Tell us about what your life has been like in the current environment, not being able to run shows, and how that's impacted you as a professional wrestler and promoter.
We're just taking a little break right now. I mean, I think it's impacted everybody. So what I encourage people to do in this time is use it productively. I put out a little post the other day, and what I mean by productively is that can be anything. There's a lot of people, even wrestlers, right? A lot of independent wrestlers work regular jobs. I'm fortunate that I don't. PJ's fortunate that he doesn't. He goes to school full time, and I'm a full-time wrestler and stuntman actor. So I bounce between my films and my wrestling. But a lot of people work regular jobs. Sometimes they work in 60, 70 hours a week, so they can use this opportunity to rest up, heal their body, get some sleep. A lot of dudes don't sleep, right? You go to work that much, you need some rest, so you can get that 8, 10 hours of sleep right now. Or also training, there's a lot of outside training going on. Use that to do something and push yourself. Don't just sit home, be a couch potato and watch Netflix. I'm just grinding, trying to do the next thing, and I'm not really looking forward to. I say I'm not looking forward. What I mean is I'm not rushing to try and put some show together, do this and do that. Trying to just play out this whole situation, focus on getting myself better, focus on getting him better and my family, and then we take the next step from there. Obviously, it's a financial burden on everybody because I had to cancel one show already. We lost money on that, and then for a guy like me, we don't know when we're going to get paid again because you're off the market right now. You don't know when that market's going to come back. When they open the market back up, right, and they say, hey, everybody can return to normal activities, people are going to go back to work on their Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is. For us pro wrestlers and promoters, you have to have everything scheduled out. So you're looking at months ahead, months in advance. So, we can't just go back to work the next Monday. So
yeah,
it is what it is, though. A lot of people are in the same situation. I'm fortunate that I have good savings and that I'm smart with my money and that I take care of myself and I take care of my family and that we have everything we need. And hopefully it just doesn't last too long,
Well, tell us actually, let's back up a little bit. What was your life going to be like for the month of March and April had this pandemic not hit?
Well, I was actually just getting ready to move to Atlanta temporarily for a few months to go do some filming out there on a project that I can't really talk about, but I had a big film project I was working, and then
we had a couple shows coming
yeah,
up too.
we had a bunch of
like
shows.
2 or 3,
yeah,
4.
you know, of course the NWA stuff, we just did that. We just did Circle Squared on that, so we had some stuff coming off of that, and then some bookings in that area with AML and stuff, and then you know we were constantly at ROW in Houston, Texas, and then of course the Wildcat shows. And I just had some international stuff we had to cancel as well. I had some England stuff over the summer that we didn't commit to because of just we don't know what's going on right now. So I got hit up about that, and I just had to tell them right now we can't even schedule it. So, you know, just to be safe. So it's just nobody knows, right? Nobody knows the effect of this. We don't know how long we're going to be down, how long we're going to be out. And like I said, the best thing for me is to just try and focus on being as positive and as productive as I can in this time. So, you know, spend time with the family, spend time with the kids as much as you can. Obviously, we can't go out and be social, but there's things you can do. I'm you know, go in the yard and throw the ball, whatever. Go jog. We had the whole clan out there the other day, all 4 of us out there jogging. So, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied.
So, for you guys, before all this happened, the last couple of months have been kind of crazy. PJ does the ultimate Superfly leap off of the mall balcony.
Wait, that was you?
Yes.
Yeah, that was him.
A video around the world,
That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
really
yeah.
anxiety.
and
Like,
you survived.
I did.
what was going through your mind? I mean, what's like, yeah, I'm going to jump off there tonight.
Well, just by the way, you're the first person to ask me this question. I just want to let you know. So, anyways, it was just a rush. You know what I mean? I got up there and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna jump. But that's about it. All it was to it. You know, once I got up there, I wasn't nervous at all because I knew if I was gonna be nervous, I was gonna mess up. So that's why I had confidence. I felt most confident I was gonna jump off and I was gonna hit it, and that's what happened.
How did
You see, Mark, you got to
How
stick.
did it begin? Whose idea was it? What put you up on that balcony in that mall? And
We just the show was there and I saw it. I'm like, wow, you know, the ring's not too far off from there. You know what I mean? It was about a 15 foot drop.
About a 15-foot drop.
Yeah, and I think the ring was about 2-3 feet away from the balcony. I would say it wasn't too far. And what's up?
It's a damn good camera angle then, because it looked like.
Oh,
Yeah. Because we had different angles of it, but the thing is, you know, what a lot of people don't know about. They obviously usually know about me, but what they don't know about PJ is that he's a trained stuntman as well.
Oh.
So he's been in several films, and you know he does a lot of stunt training, stunt fighting, high falls, all that stuff. The stuff that it's required with it. So you know that's just it's not something he would recommend or I would recommend anybody to do.
No.
And obviously you've seen crazy. I mean, I don't know how well y'all are. You know my career and my past, but if you've seen some of the stuff I did in XPW in the early 2000s, like 2001, 2002,
That's crazy.
you know, it runs in his blood, so he got it done.
So,
You cannot hide.
welcome back,
I mean,
ladies and
that's
gentlemen,
the
to the Pro
other-
Wrestling Report, Prime Time. As you hear, active discussion continuing. I think people are still a bit taken aback by PJ Hawk's dive off
That was
the balcony.
absolutely insane. That dive gave me anxiety.
Did it?
Oh, a ton
Oh,
of
you
it.
said that. I want to thank Luke and PJ for coming on from down in Nolans, Louisiana, and obviously that take and just hearing, you know, the challenges right now for independent wrestling organizations. It's not just WWE, it's not just AEW, TNA, or Ring of Honor, New Japan, whatever it may be, but there are wrestling stars, budding wrestling stars all across this country who are in peril right now, in addition to a lot of people in a lot of industries. And a lot of people are coming together now to support as best they can with what they have. And when we come out of this situation, this dire situation, I think we're going to see a lot of very happy people to be happy to be engaging in the business of professional wrestling again.
It's a sickness. It's an addiction. Not the coronavirus, but it's pro wrestling, and it's in your blood. And there's a lot of guys sitting at home just chomping at the bit to get back out there.
Indeed, they are, folks. And well, we're running out of show. SmackDown's coming up in just about 10 minutes, David Hero.
Whoops.
And before we get to this week's hot news,
Yeah. What do you got?
well, I think we need to talk about the Collar and Elbow brand for this week.
Oh, the Collar and Elbow brand. That's us right here. The Collar and Elbow brand. It's the wrestling brand. It is street fashion.
The wrestling brand?
It is the
Brand?
wrestling brand. Go to collarandelbowbrand.com. Use promo code PWR360. Big savings. We got new shirts just dropped. Even a limited edition Tiger King pro wrestling shirt.
What?
Yeah.
Tiger King from that gimmick on
No,
Netflix?
well, maybe inspired by that, but it is the Tiger King shirt by Collar and Elbow.
How does that happen?
Well, you have a graphic designer and you put something together, and then you pour like the black ink in this gimmick and you spread it across the orange shirt, and then
Folks, it's time for this week's hot news. So much going on in the wrestling world. Quick takes. It's time for those across our associates and our thoughts as well, and your thoughts. Live here on Fight TV, live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch as well. And you know, this past Tuesday on PWR Reaction, which airs live on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, we discussed a fan-submitted idea, and I unfortunately cannot at this time find in my cranium who that fan was, but I want to give credit where it's due. It was one of you who said, what if WrestleMania did a virtual WrestleMania event? What I mean by that is a gimmick where they've got virtual fans in attendance. And, well, Stephanie McMahon has confirmed just this week that they are indeed looking at technology to allow them to do that. In an interview with Variety Magazine, Stephanie McMahon said that they are indeed looking at ways to think outside the box, to innovate, and to bring the fans into the empty arena for WrestleMania. And that smirk on your face goes again to show your opinion of those who watch us.
I just don't get it. I mean,
What do you mean?
What, you're gonna put like a computerized graphic of somebody booing and
It's
cheering?
very simple. You get that. What's everybody using nowadays? It's a big thing. Zoom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Goes the room.
Yeah. Zoom.
Big video screen around the walls of the arena where the seats would be, and you project people on there. It's a big collage of people from all over the world.
It's just funny.
Why? You know what?
How do you
You're not gonna like
control
it.
the sound?
They can do all that.
Why are you screaming?
Because it's you're worried about the technical aspects of it when I'm asking about the fan engagement aspect of it.
Okay.
Or you're speaking about the technical because you don't think the fans deserve to be virtually represented
Not at
at
all.
WrestleMania.
I'm not saying that at all.
Then what are you saying?
It's like watching a bunch of different Max Headrooms in the audience.
What's the problem?
It's gonna look weird.
You're just old school and you can't think fresh.
I am
you can't
old
think
school.
new. Let's go around the horn to the associates. Linda, virtual WrestleMania fans, much like the three of you are on screen right now, representing in the PC while the matches are happening live. What do you think?
I think that it is a great idea to get some, fan interaction like we've been wanting this whole time. I mean, if it was live, as we discussed on Reaction, if it was live, that would be a nightmare as far as trying to censor and, go through every comment, even though with the 7-second delay or whatnot. But since it's all being recorded, I mean, we have a chance here to let fans call in and definitely be a part of the show. I mean, this is something this can be a WrestleMania that they will always remember, but in a positive way because they made it on Mania. So I think it is a great idea to get that fan involvement and not just putting in comments, but actually getting a video in. Just another way to get interaction and, we need some audio to get the wrestlers, a bit more excited about the matches. But it's possible, just as long, you have the ability to censor what needs to get censored because it is being recorded.
And I think to that point, Linda, that's one thing Stephanie said is we are all about the fans. We want to deliver to the fans. We want to give the fans a way to be a part of it. So for their brand, and our topic on Thursday's Reaction, actually, David, for their brand, this makes a ton of sense in my opinion.
Wait a minute. What happens if they all start chanting CM Punk? I think they turn the
Mute.
TVs off.
Mute.
That's the stuff you gotta worry about.
But they can control all that. Right now, they control the audience.
And let's be honest.
Right now, they have microphones all over the arena that they turn on and off based off of what people are saying.
The Max Headroom fans are going to be more concerned about how they look instead of paying attention to the show.
Josh Chernoff.
Whoops. That makes no
certainly
sense.
not Chernoff.
Or
Josh Chernoff.
Let's play on words.
First of all, I always look good. So especially my Billy Gunn
tell us about this week's tie.
Mr. S. Billy and I had a conversation last time I saw him, and I
see what you did there.
that maybe I needed to be more subdued in my attire, much like he has throughout his career. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, I don't understand how any of this is. They've already recorded it, so unless they like brought people, I don't know how this would even work. Like, I guess my mind can't like understand this. And then what happens? You've got like people punching in the corner, counting to 10, and they buffer at 7. Like this, I don't like really see how this works. So, I mean, it's obviously, if it's going to be live reactions, it's going to be people that they've handpicked to do this, and because of the fact that it's already happened. So, I mean, interesting, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, all right, like, let's just kind of get through these matches and just move on from this.
Drew, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think they're going to want to tout how many people are watching, from where they're watching, what country they're watching from. And I think that you're going to get similar to what this is. You're going to get 200 split screens, and they're going to open it with that. Watching across the country, they're going to do it middle of the show and then probably to close the show. You're not going to have fan reactions. They're going to all be on mute, and you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to all be recorded, or they're going to say, listen, we're putting you on, be quiet, and you get your airtime, and that's it. I don't think they're going to allow any stupid chants.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's the way to go. I think that they can come out of this saying, look what we did. It's all about social distancing, right? WWE found a way to bring those who are distanced together for the biggest show of the year, for their biggest show of the year. And I'm encouraged to see whatever they try and hope it's not a train wreck. We're live. They'll be live from tape. Anything can happen. And that adds some excitement to the show.
It does. But again, who doesn't love a good train wreck?
The people in it. Next story is a big story coming out of AEW this past Wednesday night, which, by the way, they had another tremendous outing. And I think, we were talking about this, David, that it's their presentation. They are dark, if you will, whereas WWE is very sterile and very bright, and it comes off good. But Brody Lee, was he being Vince McMahon?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
2 minutes remain unless we choose to go into overtime, which we can do here. Real quick, want to go to Drew Bay, 30 seconds or less. Drew, you've got some financials and some numbers to share with us from the week in wrestling.
Yeah, AEW's ratings were down 12%. They hit 819. NXT was up 24% at 669.
Whoa.
AEW was down in the 18 to 49 demo, where NXT was up. They still won the week. The other big news was that Vince McMahon is selling about 13 or 15% of his stock, which added to 80 million. And people are in a straight panic about how he's going to sell the company. First of all, those shares don't go into effect until 2024, and what he's doing is creating cash flow for his company because, as we touched on, there is no WrestleMania, there is no live events, and he has stockholders and people, investors, to answer to.
Well put, Drew. And with that, let's go to last Wednesday's live primetime broadcast. Super fans, David Hero.
Yes,
I did that like Tony Chimmel.
You did.
Super fans.
Proud of yourself.
A show that we broadcast. We picked the top engager, the top chatter over each of our social media channels. And last Wednesday's show from YouTube, Tim Drake gets the nod. From Twitter, Dole Angel Jr. And from Facebook, David Stronach. Thank you very much for joining. You can send an email to superfan@pwr360.com. That's superfan@pwr360.com to redeem your prize pack. Real quick, SmackDown around the horn. What are you guys looking forward to tonight? The show is on live in just over 1 minute's time. Josh, what you got on SmackDown?
Honestly, at this point, I'm just curious of what it's going to be.
We've got a Firefly Funhouse, Alexa Bliss versus Asuka, Usos versus New Day, Drew Gulak versus Nakamura as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing some good in-ring action, but otherwise, it's just curious to see how they're going to continue to build to WrestleMania. I don't know how excited you can really get for it at this point in time.
30 seconds left before SmackDown. Andrew, what are you looking forward to tonight?
Well, with Roman being out, I want to see how they're going to go to Goldberg and what's going to happen with him. Who's his opponent going to be? Are we going to find out tonight? I think we might.
We may just, folks, we are live with you again Monday night, right before WWE Raw. And David, we have yet another legendary guest lined up.
We do. We have one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, Barry Darsow.
Oh!
Also known as Demolition Smash, Blacktop
Is he
Bully,
going to kick your stinking teeth in?
and Repo Man. Not me. Him and I go way back.
Well,
You,
folks,
different story.
SmackDown is live right now. Let's send thanks to the PWR associates, Linda, Andrew, and Josh. Thank you so much for joining us. Another big announcement. On Monday, we have yet another brand new associate joining us here on PrimeTime Live.
Where's their room? There's social distancing.
Of the Solomonster Sounds Off podcast, one of my favorite podcasts each week, Jason Solomon joins the Pro Wrestling Report team and will be with us live Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, bringing his view to the rest of the views here on this program. Nobody's doing what we do, and we will continue to do it as good as we can each and every night during the week. And thank you so much for joining us. We're in overtime, David Hero. How does it feel?
I love overtime. You get
Thanks
time
for
and a
joining
half.
us. Thank you for engaging with us live all over the world. We will see you again Monday night, live, 7 o'clock p.m. for the Pro Wrestling Report, Prime Time Live. For that one, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you so much for tuning in and have a great and safe weekend.